Not long ago, Greece was the punchline of Europe, a country drowning in debt, crippled by austerity, and dismissed as a minor player in global affairs. But history has a cruel sense of irony, because today, the same Greece once begging Brussels for bailouts is pouring billions into weapons, fighter jets, and warships, and the world is starting to notice. The Eastern Mediterranean is not just another stretch of blue water on a map. It is one of the most strategic regions on Earth, the bridge between Europe, Asia, and Africa, the highway of oil, gas, and global trade, and a stage where empires have fought for centuries, from Athens to Rome, from the Ottomans to NATO. And right now, a quiet revolution is underway. Can Greece really dominate a region long ruled by empires, contested by rivals, and fought over by global powers? Greece is transforming itself into one of the most formidable military powers in Europe, and possibly the dominant force in the Eastern Mediterranean. So why does this matter? Because whoever controls these waters doesn't just protect their borders, they shape the flow of energy, commerce, and war for half the planet. So here's the question no one wants to ask, but everyone is starting to whisper: is Greece, the underdog of Europe, about to become the master of the Eastern Mediterranean? To answer that, we have to pull the story apart piece by piece. Geography, weapons, alliances, enemies, strategy, and it all begins where every empire's fate has always been written. Not in speeches, not in politics, but in the land and sea themselves. Because Greece's greatest weapon is the battlefield it already owns. Yes, power begins with geography. And Greece has what every empire, every admiral, every conqueror throughout history has coveted: the Aegean Sea. Stretching across more than 6,000 islands and islets, Greece is not just a country. It's a fortress made of stone and salt water. Each island is an unsinkable aircraft carrier, each strait a potential chokehold, each harbor a trap waiting to be sprung. Nowhere is this more obvious than along Turkey's western coast. There, just a few miles from Turkish shores, lies a chain of Greek islands: Lesbos, Chios, Samos, Rhodes, the Dodecanese. Together they form a jagged wall that hems in Turkey's navy, compresses its movement, and turns open seas into kill zones. So what does this mean in practice? It means Turkey, Greece's historic rival and NATO's most unpredictable member, cannot easily break out into the wider Mediterranean without sailing past islands bristling with Greek troops, radars, and missile systems. Every move becomes predictable, every maneuver exposed, and it gets bigger than Turkey. The Eastern Mediterranean is a global trade highway. Roughly 12% of the world's maritime commerce flows through the Suez Canal before cutting west across these very waters. Add to that the energy routes, the Black Sea traffic through the Turkish Straits, and you realize whoever dominates the Aegean doesn't just protect Greece, they influence the lifeblood of Europe itself. Military strategists call these narrow passages chokepoints, but Greece calls them something else: opportunity. Why? Because modern warfare has made geography deadlier than ever. Today, you don't need a fleet of battleships to guard a strait. You need precision missiles deployed from a rocky island outpost. You don't need to control the sea with numbers. You need to deny access with technology. And in this domain, Greece has all the advantages. The Aegean is shallow, broken, and crowded. Perfect terrain for submarines to hide. Perfect waters for fast attack craft to ambush. Perfect skies for fighter jets to swoop in from island bases and strike before an enemy even sees them. In other words, the Aegean is a natural ambush zone. And Greece owns the ambush. So, what happens when Greece arms this geography with some of the most advanced weapons in Europe? Because a fortress is only as strong as the firepower inside its walls. And Greece is filling its fortress with an arsenal built for the wars of the 21st century. And that's where Greece has stunned the world. In just a few years, Athens has launched the largest military modernization in its modern history. A €25 billion program stretching over a decade. For a nation once mocked as bankrupt, it's an astonishing transformation. But Greece isn't throwing money into rusty hardware or vanity projects. It's building a 21st century arsenal designed to overwhelm its rivals at their weakest points. And that revolution begins in the skies. In January 2025, Greece completed delivery of 24 Rafale F-3R fighters from France. These aren't just fast jets, they're platforms of destruction. Armed with Meteor long-range air-to-air missiles, they can kill targets over 100 miles away, far beyond the reach of Turkish F-16s. Add in Scalp cruise missiles capable of striking hardened targets deep inland, and suddenly every hostile radar station, command center, or airfield within 500 kilometers is vulnerable. But Greece isn't stopping there. By 2028, it expects delivery of 20 F-35 Lightning II stealth fighters from the US. These aircraft are ghosts in the sky, invisible to most radars, able to strike before enemies even know they're there. Combined with Greece's fleet of upgraded F-16 Vipers, Athens will soon control nearly 200 fourth and fifth generation jets. Even Turkish opposition leaders, usually quick to mock Greek ambitions, have admitted it. Greece now has air superiority, and in modern war, he who owns the skies owns the battlefield. When your enemies admit you've taken the skies, what does that mean for the seas below? If the air is Greek, the seas are becoming Greek too. Athens has ordered 3 French FDI Belharra frigates, with an option for a 4th. These are not ordinary warships. They are floating fortresses packed with advanced radars, Aster missiles for air defense, and powerful anti-submarine systems. Each ship can monitor, intercept, and destroy threats across hundreds of kilometers. And beneath the waves, Greece's strength multiplies. Its fleet of Type 2-14 submarines powered by air-independent propulsion are silent killers. In the cramped, shallow waters of the Aegean, they are almost impossible to detect. For Turkey's navy, every voyage risks turning into a death trap. On land, Greece is reinforcing its archipelago fortress. Over 1,300 tanks, including advanced Leopard 2A6 variants, are spread across strategic positions. Thousands of armored vehicles, artillery systems, and special forces units are stationed on islands like Rhodes, Lesbos, and Chios, sitting just a few miles from Turkish shores. For any invading force, this creates a nightmare scenario. Fighting uphill against dug-in defenders with modern armor, supported by airstrikes and naval fire. What makes this modernization terrifying is not just the individual platforms, it's the synergy. Rafales and F-35s sweep the skies, Belharra, frigates and submarines choke the seas, and tanks and island garrisons hold the land. Together they form a kill web. A military ecosystem designed to deny any enemy freedom of action in the Eastern Mediterranean. And yet, Greece knows that even the strongest sword can shatter without a shield. Which is why, alongside its offensive buildup, Greece is constructing something even more ambitious. A layered defense system meant to block everything from drones to ballistic missiles. If you're enjoying this deep dive, please like the video and consider subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us bring more global insights. Now, back to the video. While its Rafales, F-35s, and submarines give it the power to strike first, Athens is also building something just as crucial, a layered defense system designed to make Greece nearly untouchable. They call it Achilles Shield. It isn't one system. It's a web of defenses stitched together to stop everything from lumbering ballistic missiles to swarming drones. At long range, Greece deploys Patriot missile batteries capable of intercepting aircraft and incoming missiles hundreds of kilometers away. These US-made systems already protect NATO allies in Eastern Europe, but in Greek hands, they create a deadly umbrella over key islands and cities. Then comes the Russian-built S-300 system, acquired in the 1990s and upgraded since. These batteries fill the gaps, creating overlapping zones of protection. For any enemy pilot, entering Greek airspace means flying into a labyrinth of radars, lock-ons, and missile trails. Also inspired by Israel's Iron Dome, Athens is studying short-range interception systems that can pick off drones, rockets, or low-flying cruise missiles. In a region where UAV warfare is exploding, this inner dome could be decisive. And the result? a nation surrounded not just by seas and islands, but by layers of firepower. For any rival, attacking Greece is no longer a matter of if we hit, but can anything even get through? And here's the real danger. A shield like this doesn't just protect, it emboldens. Because when you know your skies are guarded, your navy is covered, and your cities are safe, you can act more aggressively abroad. But weapons and shields alone don't change history. To dominate a region, you need allies, powerful ones. And Greece has built something that may be even more dangerous than its arsenal. A network of alliances stretching from Paris to Tel Aviv, from Riyadh to Washington. Strength is not measured by weapons alone. It is measured by friends, partners, and allies, those who will stand beside you when the world tests your resolve. Greece understands this better than most. While it builds the deadliest arsenal in the Eastern Mediterranean, Athens has simultaneously constructed a web of alliances that amplifies its power far beyond its borders. The Franco-Greek Defense Pact of 2021 shocked NATO observers. For the first time, 2 NATO members formalized a mutual defense agreement that explicitly covers attacks, even from fellow alliance members. France doesn't just provide fighter jets and missiles, it provides strategic deterrence. Its expeditionary forces, nuclear capabilities, and advanced intelligence networks act as a multiplier for Greek military power. To put it simply, if Greece is struck, France can make Ankara pay a price that no regional rival can match. And Greece's partnership with Cyprus and Israel adds an economic and strategic dimension that few rivals can contest. The Eastern Mediterranean contains 122 trillion cubic feet of recoverable natural gas, a prize both for energy security and leverage. By uniting around these resources, Athens, Nicosia, and Tel Aviv create a shared security perimeter. Any threat to Greek energy or territory becomes a threat to multiple nations, raising the stakes for potential aggressors. Athens has also turned to the Gulf. The UAE-Greece strategic partnership includes joint military exercises, mutual defense agreements, and technology sharing. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia has coordinated Air Force exercises with Greece, integrating Greek Patriot missile systems to defend its infrastructure. This Gulf Mediterranean axis projects Greek influence far beyond its archipelago, making any aggressive move against Greece potentially a regional crisis. Greece's coordination with France, Israel, Cyprus, and Gulf states isolates Turkey in regional forums, energy projects, and security arrangements. Turkey's provocative blue homeland doctrine, claiming vast swaths of maritime zones, faces pushback not just from Greece, but from a coalition capable of real enforcement, economically and militarily. The combination of advanced weapons and strategic alliances creates a scenario in which Greece doesn't fight alone. It fights with the weight of multiple global powers behind it. Even a numerically superior adversary like Turkey must calculate every move, every missile, every sortie, knowing that a counterstrike may involve French jets, Israeli intelligence, or Gulf military coordination. But power built on allies comes with responsibility and opportunity. It allows Greece to project influence, secure maritime trade, control energy corridors, and shape the political landscape across the Eastern Mediterranean. Yet, while alliances strengthen Greece, rivals stumble. Turkey, burdened by economic troubles, political isolation, and shrinking influence, now faces an opponent that isn't just armed to the teeth, it is backed by the world's most capable partners. Can Turkey overcome these setbacks, or is it already on defensive? While Greece strengthens its position, Turkey faces mounting challenges that threaten its ambitions in the Eastern Mediterranean. Once seen as a regional powerhouse capable of projecting force across the Aegean and beyond, Ankara now struggles under economic, strategic, and diplomatic pressures. Turkey's defense budget tells a story of strain, not dominance. Despite ambitious modernization programs, spending falls short of NATO's 2% GDP target, with only 1.8% allocated in 2025. The Turkish lira's sharp depreciation has made procurement of advanced equipment expensive, forcing the government to contemplate controversial measures, like proposed taxes on credit card holders to fund defense spending, which were eventually abandoned amid public backlash. In absolute terms, Turkey's military expenditure of roughly $46 billion is significant, but it represents economic strain rather than strategic expansion. The country is attempting to maintain a modern force while the underlying economy struggles to sustain it. Adding to the challenge is a brain drain in the defense sector. Over 270 skilled contractors have left Turkey for Europe in recent years, weakening domestic innovation and industrial capacity. And the result? Ambitions remain high, but execution falters. Diplomacy is another battlefield where Turkey is losing ground. Its Blue Homeland Doctrine, which claims large swathes of Greek and Cypriot maritime zones, has backfired. Ankara's refusal to recognize international law UNCLOS and its unilateral agreements with Libya and potentially Syria have alienated key regional and European partners. Turkey's exclusion from the Eastern Mediterranean Gas Forum and major energy projects further underscores its isolation. While Greece, Israel, Cyprus, and Egypt coordinate energy development, Turkey remains sidelined, despite being the most logical transit route for gas to Europe. Even on the tactical front, Turkey faces limitations. Its naval operations are constrained by geography and Greek A2, AD anti-access area denial deployments. The Turkish Air Force, delayed in F-16 upgrades and excluded from the F-35 program, is increasingly outmatched in the Aegean skies. Economic limitations and skill shortages make modernization a slow, piecemeal effort, rather than a decisive leap forward. Can Turkey regain its regional edge, or is it on a path of gradual decline? Economic constraints, strategic isolation, and eroding military advantage make Ankara's position more vulnerable than at any time in recent history. This decline is not just Greece's gain, it is a shift in the regional balance of power. Turkey's weakening influence opens the door for Athens to expand alliances, consolidate control of maritime choke points, and assert dominance over the Eastern Mediterranean. In warfare, geography is destiny, and Greece's destiny lies in the thousands of islands that dot the Aegean and Ionian Seas. Every island, every strait, every narrow channel is a potential choke point. A place where a smaller, smarter force can control the movement of a larger adversary. The chain of Greek islands runs along the Turkish coast like a series of silent sentinels. For Turkey, projecting naval power beyond its shores is no longer straightforward. These islands create kill zones where anti-ship missiles, submarines, and aircraft can hold enemy fleets at bay. The narrow passages between islands act as force multipliers, amplifying Greek defensive firepower. One well-positioned frigate, armed with long-range missiles, can dominate the waters for miles around. Add submarines, drones, and radar-equipped islands into the mix, and the Aegean becomes a labyrinth where any intruder is detected, tracked, and neutralized. Control of these choke points isn't just military, it's economic. The Aegean sits astride critical shipping lanes connecting the Mediterranean to the Black Sea via the Turkish Straits. Around 12% of global maritime trade passes through these waters, including energy shipments through the Suez Canal. By holding these routes, Greece gains leverage far beyond its size, influencing trade, energy, and regional security. Any disruption could force rival powers to negotiate on Greek terms. Greek naval doctrine has evolved to exploit these geographic advantages fully. Modern Belharra-class frigates, Type 2, 1-4 submarines, and anti-ship missile batteries are networked with coastal radars and drone swarms. This creates overlapping zones of control, a sea denial strategy that makes the Aegean a minefield for any opposing force. Even Turkey's larger fleet is constrained. Its vessels must navigate narrow channels under constant surveillance, always aware that Greek submarines and missile batteries could strike without warning. In short, Greece doesn't need a bigger navy, it needs a smarter one. Geography plus modern technology equals control, and in the Eastern Mediterranean, control of the seas is control of the region. But domination of the waters alone isn't enough. To secure long-term supremacy, Greece must also rule the skies above those islands, where modern air power and precision strike capabilities turn geographic advantage into absolute dominance. And as Turkey struggles, Greece's advantage becomes more than theoretical. It's operational, technological, and diplomatic. So how does Greece translate this opening into sustained, force-multiplied power across land, sea, and air? Against a numerically superior neighbor like Turkey, raw numbers alone won't secure dominance. The answer lies in force multiplication, turning technology, training, and integration into a strategic multiplier that amplifies every euro spent. The backbone of force multiplication begins on the ground. Greece's Leopard 2 A6HLS tanks, refitted with state-of-the-art fire control systems, improved armor, and battlefield networking, give commanders to strike harder, faster, and with more accuracy than ever before. But tanks alone aren't enough. Mobility is critical across hundreds of islands and narrow Aegean passages. Upgraded armored personnel carriers, APCs, and infantry fighting vehicles, IFVs, allow troops to move swiftly, respond to incursions, and hold critical terrain with minimal exposure. Modern artillery systems and precision rocket batteries ensure that any massed Turkish force is detected, tracked, and destroyed before it can gain momentum. Every gun, every missile, and every vehicle is integrated into a networked battlefield, maximizing lethal efficiency. Greece's air modernization compounds land advantages. Rafale's F-35s and upgraded F-16 Vipers are fully integrated with ground units and naval assets. Airstrikes are no longer isolated operations. They are coordinated, real-time engagements that amplify every missile and bomb's effectiveness. A single F-35 sortie can direct attacks across multiple platforms, tanks, missile batteries, naval vessels, turning the battlefield into a synchronized instrument of power. And the result? A smaller force can overwhelm a larger one through precision, coordination, and technological edge. On the sea, Belharra-class frigates and Type 2 1-4 submarines are linked to air and coastal defense networks, creating overlapping zones of control. Enemy ships cannot navigate the Aegean without detection. Drone and electronic warfare systems provide constant surveillance and rapid engagement, neutralizing numerical disadvantages while asserting dominance over critical maritime choke points. Greece leverages drones, loitering munitions, and unmanned vessels to extend its reach without risking personnel. These assets operate in the shadows, hitting targets before an opponent can react. In the island-heavy Aegean, the terrain itself becomes a force multiplier, with modern technology amplifying the defensive advantage of natural choke points. The combination of modernized land forces, integrated air power, networked naval units, and unmanned systems creates a layered, interconnected force. Every branch multiplies the effectiveness of the others. Greece can defend islands, control sea lanes, secure energy corridors, and project influence without needing to match Turkey in raw numbers. Now the critical question remains, can this technological and tactical edge be leveraged into sustained regional dominance? Force multiplication gives Greece a qualitative advantage, but only if doctrine, alliances, and strategic foresight continue to amplify it. Greece is no longer content with defending its borders. Across the eastern Mediterranean, Athens is projecting power far beyond its immediate neighborhood, signaling that it is a force to be reckoned with. Recent exercises, like the India-Greece bilateral naval drills in the Mediterranean, are more than mere shows of force. They demonstrate Greece's ability to engage with major powers, coordinate complex operations, and influence regional security far beyond the Aegean Sea. Meanwhile, Greek participation in multinational exercises with Israel, the UAE, and other regional air forces highlights a strategic integration into broader Middle Eastern defense architectures. Every sortie, every naval maneuver, and every joint operation cements Greece's role as a regional security pillar. Greece's emerging dominance in the Eastern Mediterranean is not accidental. It stems from several converging factors that create a unique, almost unassailable strategic advantage. Greece's archipelago of islands forms natural defensive positions. Each island, each choke point, is a bastion ready to exploit modern military technology, creating denial zones that few adversaries can penetrate. Advanced French Rafales and American F-35s give Greece air superiority over the Eastern Mediterranean. Networked land, air, and naval systems amplify the impact of every asset, turning Greece into a force multiplier against numerically superior opponents. Partnerships with France, Israel, Cyprus, the UAE, and indirect ties with Egypt create a diplomatic and military web that strengthens Greece's strategic posture. This coalition can coordinate pressure, deterrence, and rapid response, turning potential regional crises in Greece's favor. Access to Eastern Mediterranean energy reserves provides not only financial means to sustain modernization, but also a strategic stake in regional security, ensuring other powers have incentive to cooperate. EU and NATO membership, alongside bilateral defense agreements, provide security guarantees and access to advanced military technology, creating layers of protection that isolated rivals cannot match. The combination of geography, technology, alliances, and economic clout positions Greece to exercise effective control over sea lanes, energy corridors, and regional security arrangements. Its military may not be the largest by sheer numbers, but its integration of assets and partnerships creates a force that is disproportionately effective. The Eastern Mediterranean is entering a period where position, technology, and alliances matter more than raw military mass. Greece has positioned itself perfectly for this paradigm shift. With natural choke points under its control, cutting-edge air and naval assets, and a network of strategic partners, Athens is laying the foundation for a decisive shift in regional power, potentially the most significant since the end of the Cold War. But dominance is not guaranteed. Can Greece translate its strategic advantages into sustainable, long-term regional influence, or will internal and external pressures undermine its ascent? Greece is no longer the quiet, defensive state many once assumed it to be. From the towering cliffs of Crete to the scattered islands off the Turkish coast, Athens has transformed its geography into a natural fortress, its military into a precision instrument, and its alliances into force multipliers that extend its influence far beyond its borders. Through decades of modernization, technological acquisition, and strategic partnerships, Greece has stitched together a web of power that few regional actors can contest. The Rafale F-35 combination ensures air superiority, Belharra-class frigates and stealth submarines establish naval dominance, and the Achilles Shield project promises near-impenetrable air and missile defense. Meanwhile, energy cooperation with Cyprus and Israel, coupled with Gulf state partnerships, amplifies Greece's economic and diplomatic leverage, tying regional prosperity to Athens' security. The Eastern Mediterranean, once a theater dominated by Turkish ambition, now sees a Greek military capable of controlling strategic choke points, protecting vital sea lanes, and asserting authority across contested waters. Its geographic supremacy, coupled with modern assets and strong alliances, allows Greece to punch far above its size, shaping the regional security architecture to its advantage. Yet this ascent comes with risks. Turkey's strategic grievances, economic volatility, and ambitions in the Eastern Mediterranean create a persistent undercurrent of tension. Greece must navigate a fine line between deterrence and provocation, balancing military readiness with diplomatic finesse. The same power that protects Greece can also entangle it in escalating regional rivalries if mismanaged. In the end, Greece stands at a crossroads. It has built the foundations for regional dominance, leveraging geography, alliances, technology, and strategy. The question is no longer whether Greece can compete, it already can. The true challenge is whether it can sustain this power, translate it into lasting influence, and navigate the volatile waters of the Eastern Mediterranean without sparking conflict. Greece is a nation that has turned vulnerability into strength, islands into fortresses, and partnerships into power. The Eastern Mediterranean is entering a new era, and Greece is poised not just to survive, but to shape the balance of power. The stage is set, the actors are in position, and for those watching closely, one truth is clear. The Eastern Mediterranean will never look the same again, because Greece is no longer waiting. It is leading. If you found this analysis valuable, please consider subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into geopolitics. We would love to hear your thoughts. Drop your comments below and let us know what you think. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.